Here is a rundown on why you feel lost in life. Dr. Gabor Maté on trauma and how to heal, featuring Dr. Gabor Maté by Mel Robbins.
Dr. Gabor Maté's work has been instrumental in transforming the way we understand trauma and its impact on our lives. He shares that his own childhood experiences, including being born in Budapest, Hungary, during World War II, and being given to a stranger by his mother to save his life, left a deep imprint on his nervous system and psyche. These traumatic events created psychological wounds that took him years to recognize and heal. Matt explains that trauma is not what happened to us, but rather what happened inside of us as a result of what happened. He defines trauma as a psychological wound that can be caused by big T traumatic events, such as physical or emotional abuse, or by not meeting a child's fundamental needs, such as unconditional acceptance and safety. He emphasizes that trauma is not something that only happens to people who have experienced extreme events, but rather it can be caused by seemingly insignificant things, such as a parent's mood or criticism. Matt also discusses how trauma can be transmitted transgenerationally, and how it can affect our physical and mental health. He explains that when we experience trauma, our body's stress response is triggered, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones can affect our brain development, physiology, and behavior, leading to a range of problems, including anxiety, depression, and addiction. He also talks about the importance of understanding and addressing trauma in order to heal and move forward. Matt emphasizes that healing requires compassionate curiosity towards ourselves, rather than self-blame or shame. He encourages listeners to explore their own experiences and emotions, and to seek help if needed. Matt's work has been instrumental in helping people understand the impact of trauma on their lives, and how to heal and move forward. His message is one of hope and empowerment, encouraging listeners to take responsibility for their own healing, and to seek help when needed. In terms of identifying childhood trauma, Matt explains that it can be caused by a range of factors, including big T traumatic events, poverty, and racism. He emphasizes that trauma can affect our physiology, leading to a range of problems, including autoimmune disease, cancer, addiction, and mental health problems. He explains that trauma incites inflammation in the body, which can lead to a range of problems, including anxiety, depression, and addiction. His message is one of hope and empowerment, encouraging listeners to take responsibility for their own healing and to seek help when needed. He notes that trauma can increase our risk for various diseases, including cancer, autoimmune disorders, and depression. Furthermore, trauma can alter the way our genes are expressed, leading to changes in our physiology and behavior.
Mel Robbins shares her personal experience of feeling lost and anxious. Despite not having a traumatic childhood in the classical sense, she realizes that her hypervigilance and people-pleasing behaviors were adaptations to her environment, rather than flaws in her personality.
Dr. Matt explains that children are highly sensitive to their parents' emotional states, and can pick up on stress and anxiety, even if they don't consciously remember it. The conversation highlights the importance of recognizing that trauma is not just about big dramatic events, but also about the small everyday experiences that can shape our lives. Dr. Matt notes that no two siblings experience the same childhood, even if they grow up in the same household. He explains that birth trauma, postpartum depression, and societal expectations can all impact a child's development and increase their risk for ADHD and other conditions.
Mel Robbins shares her own experience of having a traumatic birth and struggling with postpartum depression, which affected her ability to bond with her child.
Dr. Matt explains that this can have long-term consequences for the child's brain development and behavior. He notes that society often neglects the importance of mother-child bonding and the need for community support during the postpartum period. The conversation also touches on the impact of unresolved trauma on our ability to deal with stress as adults. Dr. Matt explains that trauma can interfere with the development of our stress regulation apparatus, leading to addictive behaviors and other coping mechanisms. He notes that recognizing and acknowledging trauma is the first step towards healing, and that it's never too late to make changes.
Mel Robbins shares her husband's experience of growing up with a workaholic and narcissistic father, which led to his shutdown response to stress.
Dr. Matt explains that this is a common adaptation to trauma, where individuals may dissociate from their feelings and needs as a way of coping. He emphasizes that this is not a flaw, but rather a normal response to abnormal circumstances. She notes that it's a process of accepting responsibility for our own healing and making a conscious decision to change our behaviors and patterns. Dr. Matt emphasizes that nobody is damaged goods, and that our adaptations to trauma are not flaws, but rather a testament to our resilience and ability to survive in difficult circumstances. According to Dr. Matt, people often behave in certain ways by default, not by fault. This means that they're following patterns programmed into them, but it's not their fault. He emphasized that it's essential to recognize the difference between default and fault to begin the healing process.
Mel Robbins shared a personal experience from her childhood where she was molested by an older kid during a family vacation.
Dr. Matt helped her unpack this traumatic event, explaining that the trauma wasn't just the incident itself, but also the fact that she was alone and didn't feel safe talking to her parents about it. Dr. Matt stressed that healing follows with recognizing one's suffering and developing compassionate curiosity towards oneself. He also emphasized the importance of taking responsibility for one's actions and recognizing that trauma is not a victim mentality.
Mel Robbins reflected on how she had always felt like she had to do things on her own and didn't know how to ask for help.
Dr. Matt explained that this was an adaptation to her childhood experiences, where she didn't feel safe seeking help from her parents. He encouraged her to recognize that she was born with a capacity to ask for help, and that it's essential to develop this capacity to heal. The conversation also touched on the importance of playfulness, joyfulness, and creativity in our lives. Dr. Matt shared that he didn't know how to play with his kids because he wasn't played with as a child, but he learned how to play as an adult.
Mel Robbins shared her own struggles with being affectionate and physically embracing her kids, despite being a warm person. He shared his own experiences with shutting down in response to hurt or conflict, which was a dominant problem in his marriage.
In his parting words, Dr. Matt emphasized that the biggest takeaway is that it's not our fault, but there's a reason for our behaviors and emotions. He encouraged viewers to recognize this and work through their trauma to reconnect with themselves and take their power back. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, and just remember, subscription is only £1 or $1 per month. Leave a comment or review. Until next time, happy listening.